fourth member this afternoon is Craig Wilkins. Craig started at Sedgemoor the 1st of October 2001 as an information systems developer. In 2006, he became the information systems manager, and in 2008 became the corporate manager for the Tech and Work program. In 2012, Craig was appointed as head of the information systems, corporate manager. Congratulations to you. Congratulations, Craig. What were they doing without these boys the last 18 months, the IT? And the last award here this afternoon is for Tanya Master. Tanya started at Sedgemoor the 17th of September 2001 as an accounting technician. In 2006, Tanya became a corporate accountant, which is carried out since in the financial services. Congratulations, Tanya. Congratulations to all these award winners, very much so. Thank you. On behalf of the Sedgemoor District Council, thank you for your loyalty and reward. Thank you. I've got several people actually who couldn't attend. There are Chris Pepin, Sadie Kirk, Eric Dite, Malcolm Mole, Nicola Hunt, Sheena Spooner, Stuart Hewlett, you all know, Stephen Howe, and I've got 3 from 2021 as well, not present today. Phil Hall, Lisa Deadman, Sally Ann Trunks, and Mary Lou Weeks. And congratulations to all of those. Thank you all very, very much for your loyalty and service. Thank you. The next thing on the agenda is to update the whole council with my recent activities. I was told off the last time for making it too long. Well, this time under starters orders, I'm going to make it a lot shorter. Okay, so I'm going to kick off. All right, you'll understand. I started off at Brent Knoll, an affordable housing project, terrific scheme. The whole village was involved. Looks fantastic. Well done to you all. Second thing, I attended Remembrance Sunday service at Bridgewater. But very honoured to do so and represent Sedgemoor on a very moving morning. I have never seen so many people in the centre of Bridgewater, I don't think. Really moving event. Followed by an afternoon at Cheddar. I just want to thank Lee Redmond as well for being my escort at Bridgewater. I wasn't aware about some of the things that were going on. Thank you very much for you, Lee. Made the job much easier. Then we had to switch on the lights. Thank you again, Lee, for guiding that. That was and may I say, I've been a lot of places this year, and these lights at Bridgewater, I think, are very, very impressive, right?
Well, actually quite good at burning.
Well, you know, I'm an honest chap, that you know. I won't tell no lies. I think they're very, very impressive, right? Well done, thank you. Well, burn them as well. You know, everybody contributes. Everyone contributes. Right. Also, I was invited to Victoria Park for an opening on a Saturday morning for all the Christmas stalls and Meet Father Christmas and a couple of donkeys and all the rest of it, and that was well supported. The weather made it the fact that it had to be outside, which was inside. Sorry if it made it a great shame, but a lot of people were there, and it was very, pleasant atmosphere. And I thank 3 people there for making me very welcome, which is Brian Smedley, Liz Levy, and Mick Leary, who's had a lot to do with that Victoria part, and I should really like to see that reopen as an ongoing concern regarding the hospital thing. I really should. It's a real big part of the community, and it's very, very important. I learned quite a few things that morning, actually, from the credit union in particular. I couldn't get away from the alligator, Red Devil, whatever it was. It kept following me around. But there's a big insight to what was happening. Some of these money lenders, what they're doing, various places. The same evening, I was invited to the Princess Theatre at Burnham, and that's been redone, all remade up. So everything pushes right back to the end now. It's remarkable what they've done up there in a very small area, really, and it makes it very cozy, very warming. And I thank Becky and Craig for their hospitality that particular evening in doing that. And also my vice chairman, he represented me at the Sedgemoor Business Awards, which was held here. And that was a really successful evening. And I thank Mike Facey for doing that on my behalf. I had something that was booked 9 months previous, and I could not get out of it too well, and that's how it was, all right? So it's a lot shorter this time than what it was, but I just like to let people know where I've been, what I do, and I like to sort of commend people on what they've done in a lot of these places, because we don't know half the time what is going on. So I'm very, very important. So thank you all those people who assisted me and invited me to all these functions. Thank you very, very much. Thank you. Right, after all that, I've got a drink. And item number 4, public speaking time. Anybody on behalf of the public wishing to speak this afternoon? No one? No one at all. Thank you very much. Right, now we go straight into the agenda now. And the first thing on the agenda today is the local government reorganisation, the Joint Scrutiny Committee. Can I get a hand over to Councillor Slocum to report and to propose recommendations? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Chairman. As we all know, the local government reorganisation, this is about the Joint Scrutiny Committee. I won't go into the details. I think we all are very, very well versed with this. But we need to approve the establishment of a joint committee together with the County Council. And you see the 2 recommendations before you. And the Conservative group are going to propose this afternoon Diego Rodriguez and Councillor Tony Grimes as their 2 members to represent on the Scrutiny Committee from the Conservatives. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Councillor Slocum. Is that, sorry, Councillor Brian Smedley.
Well, that's clearly not seconded. If you're looking at me for that, I'd like to propose an amendment, obviously. So if you'd like to allow me to at this stage.
Apologise, we didn't ask for a seconder on that, what I proposed. So could we have a seconder first before?
Yes, can I have a seconder on that, please?
Thank you.
Councillor Healy, thank you very much. Now, Councillor Brian Smedley, sorry.
Yes, I was hoping that the scrutiny body wouldn't fall at the first hurdle, and that we did continue in the spirit of unity that Sedgemoor has so far approached unitary with. If you look at percentages in any format, there's many different ways you can come to 100%, or you can interpret the figures there. Clearly, if you look at the figures for Sedgemoor, it should be 1 Conservative and 1 Labour, and that's what we would propose as an amendment. Labour obviously is the second party in Sedgemoor, and that should be reflected. I would also say that the Greens lose out on this across the county and don't get any places, and clearly some going forward together to shape a new administrative structure of the county should include the Greens as well. I can't propose anything for the Greens today. There's none of them in Sedgemoor. But in Mendip, certainly if I was a Green there, I would be arguing for a Green representation. But it is in our power here to buck the trend of these figures that have been put forward as acceptable, and to amend it to 1 Conservative and 1 Labour. I think clearly 50% of that percentage in Sedgemoor is a Tory percentage, no doubt about that. If you look at the second figure there, that's a hybrid mix of the rest of the percentages, the majority percentage in that being Labour. That's why I would suggest we support that today. I know it's a strange requirement that every last one of you has to support this, not, and some mustn't abstain or vote against. But I trust the common sense of the people in the room to back me on this.
I got to have a seconder for that. First of all, please, Councillor Evans, second that. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Evans.
Mr. Chairman. Yeah, very happy to second that, Mr. Chairman. Throughout this unitary process, all three political groups on this council have been unified. We've worked together, we cooperated, we've shown a tremendous team spirit to get what's best for Sedgemoor together. And if we had formed a combined opposition group under the constitution, we would actually have been entitled to an opposition place, because if you add together the Liberal Democrat and Labour groups, that would entitled us to a second seat as the representation from Sedgemoor District Council. So, but unfortunately, you know, the way the rules work, it doesn't quite allow us to do that under these circumstances. But I think the pluralistic approach of involving everybody in the running of this council that Duncan has approached over the last 18 months or so that we've been through this unitary process and through the COVID situation has been to all our benefit. We've managed to work together in a lot of these areas, and it is disappointing that we now find ourselves in a situation where the opposition is now being shut out again. Inevitably, putting together the joint scrutiny arrangements is a compromise. We appreciate that. It's got to be done across the county. We've got an excellent FAQ document, frequently asked questions. I'm not sure how frequently people ask me about the proportionality of the DeHont system as reflects council proportionality. Maybe it's flipping awkward questions, I don't know. But we need to find a way forwards that involves everyone across this council. So I would ask for that unanimity to continue and for us to work together on this process to bring it to its conclusion. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Councillor Evans. I'm going to have to take a vote on that then. Sorry, Melanie, sorry.
We've got an amendment proposed, so we need to take that amendment first. So we need to vote as to whether the proposal to have one Conservative and one Labour member becomes a substantive motion. So that's the proposal, first of all, please, Chairman.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Right, so you're all clear. You're all clear. I'll start with right. All clear, everybody. What we're voting for? Right. So the first vote is for the amendment, which first was for a Conservative councillor and a Labour councillor. I think that's right. Should take a vote on that to start with, please. Those in favour. Sorry.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I've already had that. Okay.
Hands down, please. Yeah. Okay. All those against?
That amendment is lost, Chairman.
Yeah. The amendment is quite clearly lost, I think. Okay. Right.
So we now need to vote, Chairman, on the substantive motion put forward by Councillor Slocum.
Right. And now we need to vote on the substantive motion. Right. For Councillor Slocum. Yeah. You're all clear of that, are we?
Yeah, yeah.
Right. For all those in favour?
Okay. Those against?
Yeah.
Those against?
Sorry.
Yeah.
And any against? Any abstentions? I think that is clearly carried. That is clearly carried. That means there's two Conservatives will sit on the scrutiny committee at the forthcoming. But that period of time will be for about 5-6 months, is it? I think it will be. Whatever happens, yeah. Councillor Slocum. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to say that I fully respect the point of view of the opposition, and the motion, the recommendation has been passed, but we do respect your point of view. But our group was very, very strong on what we wanted for the future. So just wanted to make that very clear. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Slocum. Councillor Redmond.
Forgive me, Chair. I took the opportunity, sad as it is, to watch the Somerset Western Taunton committee meeting actually last night, and there was a point of clarification I think was made that I think would be important to seek reviews on. Supposed to turn. Oh, there you go. It's just the clarification is around the longevity or the life of this new scrutiny committee. The question was asked following a briefing at county where it seemed to infer that upon the formation of the new unitary in May 2022, then the potential is that this joint scrutiny committee that we've just agreed to and would cease to exist. Could you please confirm whether that is a valid position statement or not, please?
Yes.
If you could
Yes,
come
that
back
is.
on that, please.
Yeah, that is the case, Chairman. So yes, once the new authority, once the elections happen, an implementation executive will come into being, and this joint scrutiny committee will come to an end. Having said that, there obviously can still be discussions about any joint arrangements that sit under that.
So just to follow on, if I could, Chair, just some clarification. So would this council be seeking to have representation on a body that then becomes an overview and scrutiny committee for the new council? Or, because in theory, the district council will still be in existence for another year and the new unitary will not be in place until vesting day on the 1st of April 2023. So that's a period of time between the election in 22 and the vesting day when potentially this council would lose its voice in scrutiny.
Want to come back on that?
And that's
Melanie,
where there
please?
need to be discussions about whether there is a joint arrangement that sits underneath of all the district councils as well. So those are discussions that need to be had. Yeah, yeah. But if they're not put in place, then you are absolutely right in your assumption.
Thank you for that, Councillor Redmond. Bring it to the front. Thank you very much. Right, item number 6 on the agenda this afternoon is recommendations from the executive and other committees. A statement of gambling policy. I'll hand over to Jill, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would hand over now to Councillor Stuart Kingham, who will propose the statement of the gambling policy, as both the chairman and vice chairman are not present,
right.
but they're both on there.
Okay.
So I can hand over to them, please. Thank you.
Good afternoon. On behalf of the Licensing and General Purpose Committee, I'd like to put forward the recommendations from the committee meeting on the 20th of October 21.
I got a seconder for that. Councillor Human, thank you very much. Any debate? Yes, Councillor Human.
I'd just like to add, as a member of that committee, the items where the policy was thoroughly scrutinised, took a great deal of work, and I think we ought to ask the minutes to reflect that Alan Weldon and his team did a fantastic job in helping us to arrive at the conclusions of that policy. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Human. Thank you very much. Sure, that'll be noted. Thank you. We go for the vote now, if you could, please. All those in favour to show. Seems to be unanimous, but I'll go for any abstentions. No, no one against. Thank you for that, councillors. It's clearly carried. Thank you. Agenda item 6.2, the sheltered housing allocation policy. I'm now going to pass over to Councillor Slocum, if I could please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is the recommendation on the sheltered housing allocations policy. I hope you've all had a chance to read it. It's a very, very good policy. It demonstrated by customers being in receipt of personal independence payments or disability living allowance, or the 65 plus with support need. It's an excellent policy, and I would recommend this to the council, please.
Thank you very much, Councillor Slocum. Is that seconded? Thank you very much. Councillor Gillen to second that. Any debate? No debate at all? Right. We'll take a vote then. All those in favour, please show. It's unanimous again, thank you. I just checked, no abstentions, no loss against, right. Thank you very much, councillors. Item 6.3, the recommendation from the Independent Remuneration Panel. I've got to pass over to Andrew to give a short update on this, if you could, please.
So the Independent Remuneration Panel is made up from a number of independent people from local businesses and the local community, and they meet on an annual basis to consider the remuneration allowances payable to councillors. They met on the 10th of November, and following a survey that members returned, used that evidence along with hearing evidence from the leader of the Conservatives, Councillor McGuinty, and also the leader of the Labour group, Councillor Smedley, at the meeting, to take into evidence of councillors' roles, responsibilities, workloads, and sort of general feelings on the mood of members. So that was very useful for the panel, and they appreciated the support that they received from those councillors at the meeting and also from the members that returned the questionnaire. So after much deliberation, the IRP members recommended that the basic allowance that's payable to members should be increased by 2%. This was keeping in mind that similar offer has been made to local government employees in the previous year. Obviously, not what's happening currently, but the 2% increase is recommended. So that will take the basic allowance up to a rounded up figure of £4,890. And then obviously all of the multipliers work for the relevant responsibility allowances set out in the papers before you. There was one further addition one further recommendation that the panel made, and that was to set up an internet allowance, recognising that members were working at home and perhaps some members' IT speeds needed to be improved. So there was an annual allowance set up, which is £360, which will be paid in 12 equal monthly instalments. One other recommendation was that they looked at the member allowances for subsistence and determined that it was sensible to place the cities of Manchester, Birmingham into the mix of places where there perhaps will be conferences held, so that members are able to claim the rates that again are set out in the papers before you. Those are the main recommendations that came back from the independent panel, and it's over to members now to debate or, if necessary, ask me any questions on that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Andrew, for that. Thank you very much. I'd like to hand over to Councillor Slocum to propose the recommendations, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm proposing the recommendations to support the scheme of allowances and to approve the allowances listed as online or papers. And I'd like to thank the IRP for the work they do. I think in recognising the extreme difficulties and the work that all members have gone through, especially over this last, we've sat many hours in front of screens, many hours trying to do, and with the support and help from the staff. So I thank them very much for this work. It is independent from us, so but thank them very much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Is that seconded? Thank you very much, Councillor Castle or Councillor here. I don't mind which one it is. One of them. Okay. Any debate? No debate at all. Right. I'm happy with this then. So please ask all those in favour, please show. Unanimously, yeah. Thank you very much, councillors. Unanimous again. Thank you very much. Thank you. And moving on, item number 7, executive question time. The portfolio holders. I'd start with Councillor Slocum, if I could, please.
Well, the first report
Sorry.
is Councillor McGuinty's report.
Yeah.
If anyone has any questions for Councillor McGuinty.
That's right,
Sorry,
yeah,
Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, sorry. Any questions for? No, right. Number 2. Any questions for the Deputy Leader in Inward Investment and Growth, Councillor Joe Slocum? Councillor Charlie Richards, sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Deputy Leader reports that work is ongoing to develop bids for the Levelling Up funds. I think there is going to be an application window in the spring. Speaking as a member from a ward that desperately is in need of funds for regeneration projects, I'm really heartened by the regular discussions members have been involved in over the past few months with officers and also with Councillor Slocum to identify priorities. I think this has been a really good collaborative effort. Ensuring that Sedgemoor contributes to a compelling Levelling Up bid with Mendip District Council for the Wells constituency should, I believe, remain a priority piece of work as the clock clicks down to local government reorganisation. I trust that members representing Cheddar and Highbridge will continue to be regularly consulted as the Levelling Up bid is written, so we can make sure that the new Somerset Council inherits projects that benefit residents from years to come. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Councillor Keane, that side, please. And
Did you
Councillor
want-
Pearce as well was waiting as well.
It's my
I agree
report.
with you, and thank you for your remarks. I can
It's my
confirm
report.
that the officers who are leading
Not my fault,
on
no,
this,
no.
they are very generous with their time, and there are constant discussions on making sure that all the plans in advance, all the I's are dotted and T's crossed. We don't want to be disappointed again next year. Thank you for your observations.
I'm going to go to Councillor Pearce next, if I could, please.
No, excuse me, Mr. Chairman.
Has there been a cabinet reshuffle we haven't been informed about?
I think there has been.
Point of
Mr.
order.
Chairman, may I just come back?
I've made a
As this
mistake
is
here.
my
Councillor King
report,
gone in.
as this is inward investment and growth, I'd like to answer that question and thank the councillor very, very much. The one thing we want to do with Levelling Up and all our thing, all the things we want to do to improve areas is make sure there's transparency and working together. And I have to say, it's been tremendous working with the Highbridge Regeneration, working with the Cheddar Regeneration and working with the Levelling Up councillors who have been, I have to say, tremendous in fighting their corner. And I will continue to do that. So thank you very much for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Slocum. Councillor Pearce.
Oh, is that better? Thank you. Yes, sorry. My question is on the town deal. I understand the November meeting of the Towns Fund Board couldn't take place because it was in quorate, and I'm really asking for how you will assure us that that won't happen again. I know you're aware of how important it is and that time is of the essence, but it's just really important that time isn't missed.
Can I explain? Obviously, as you all know, and I want to thank you all for the very kind messages that I had, being double COVID. I apparently made history, not something I wanted to make history for. But can I say that it was a problem with the date, I think, and there was a misunderstanding because I think the date, many councillors and many people on the board had double booked. But the one thing we do is, and our JC in our Sedgemoor works extremely hard to make sure we appreciate how important these meetings are. This is levelling up money from the government that we want to make for the town of Bridgewater. So what I would say to you is, well, I will do everything in my power. And I know our consultant and I know our officers will as well. So I hope that will never happen again. It wasn't about me. Would you believe I actually was okay for that meeting, but then caught it a week later, the second time. So no, we absolutely correct. We'll make sure that this doesn't happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Slocum. And Councillor Brian Smedley.
Could I also ask on that subject, As Councillor Slocum points out, the town deal is Sedgemoor is the primary council in dealing with that, but Sedgemoor won't exist in a couple of years' time. From meetings that we've had recently, particularly in relation to the future of the docks in Bridgewater, which I won't obviously talk about in open meeting here, some of those things won't be solved in that time scale. What are the contingency plans for the Sedgemoor role going forward after the cessation of Sedgemoor's existence?
As you know, I'm so sorry. Councillor Smedley and I have had these discussions many times and we don't always agree, as you'll know. But the Levelling Up Fund is direct funding from the government and the Sedgemoor District Council is the overseer. When we go forward and we go in for vesting day, the new authority will be the overseer of this. It's not a town council money. It is money for Bridgewater. The overseer will be the new authority, but we will ensure all the information, everything we're working together to make sure that we go forward so that everything that's on the table, everything that's been agreed by government will go forward exactly the same. So there is no loss. There's no loss, as Councillor, I've explained this to you, Councillor Smedley. It is not a town council fund, and I appreciate you'd like to get your hands on it, and I know that. But unfortunately, it's not quite going to work like that. But what I would say to you, if I may, that your opinion and the town's fund is the group together, making sure that we get the best for Bridgewater.
Councillor Smedley, back again. Yeah.
What wasn't the question I asked you? The question I asked you was the disappearance of Sedgemoor and all this. Never mind Bridgewater Town Council's role. If you're advancing in a military situation and suddenly the regiment next to you has been abandoned, abolished during the time, what happens to their responsibilities? So you just said it goes to the county, the new county authority. Yeah?
Yes, the new governing authority, the new authority will govern. They'll be the overseer. They'll be the overseer. But of course, as you know, our officers and everyone that's worked on that will go with it as well. So what I'm saying is nothing will be lost, but there needs to be a governing authority that cannot be the local authority. It has to be a governing. So it will go forward. I've had a reassurance on that that's how it's going to be. I'm sorry, I thought I'd answered that, so I apologise if I wasn't clear.
I just want to be publicly reassured that Sedgemoor has taken contingency for its own demise.
Absolutely. No, not demise, going forward.
Thank you, Councillor Slocum. Any more questions? Okay. Right. Infrastructure and transport, Councillor Mike Caswell. Councillor Evans.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Councillor Caswell will be disappointed if I didn't ask him a question about the Bridgewater barrier. I notice he thinks it would make a fantastic Christmas present in his report. Can he enlighten us as to whether he's been a good boy or naughty boy this year, and is he expecting Santa to come?
Do you want to come back on that, Councillor Caswell? You've got microphones everywhere. God, what's what you're doing with them?
Yes. No.
Yes.
Yeah. Do you know, I've always wanted to say this. Can I refer you to the statement I made earlier? Always wanted to say that. Do you know, it would be a fantastic present for the whole of Sedgemoor and Bridgewater, and it's, you know, if we just signed the blasted thing. And I'm sorry, you know, I'd just say it like everything else is done. I'm assured that the questions have been asked to date and they've all been answered. We just please sign the thing so that we can get on with this very, very valuable asset for Bridgewater. I mean, it really is. It's so frustrating that we're not getting a reply or even an inkling of when it would be. I hope it will be the best Christmas present we've had for the people of Bridgewater and Sedgemoor. I really do. I have no other information on it than that. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Councillor Caswell. Thank you. Councillor Pearce.
My question's on paragraph 1, Bridgewater Port and Dunbar Wharf in particular. As you'll know, Bridgewater Town Council has aspirations for use of our waterways, including the river, and Dunbar Wharf is something of the gateway to that. And also Inland Waterways Association have been lobbying for years for greater leisure use of the river. So I'm really asking, going forward, will you consider involving Bridgewater Town Council and Inland Waterways Association in future discussions around the wharf and looking at greater use, including leisure for that area, please?
As you know, Councillor, the Cummins, not Cummins Wharf, but Dumble Wharf is privately owned, and but it is Somerset's only working port, and we really desperately need to get business in there. Now, how we do that is talking to people like the waterways and the leisure activities and things like that, but we really do need to make it a commercial port as well. And I've had preliminary conversations with another portfolio holder about whether we can use it for gravity, or perhaps to bring stuff in for gravity, to say travelling all the way down from Avonmouth or down the motorway with huge great lorries and things like that. The AILs will go into Cummins, which is nearly finished, as we know, but in fact I think it is finished now, but I haven't had that confirmed. But yes, we really do need to get that port up and safely running. I mean, it'd be wonderful, because that's what we need. We need the port. It's a real green asset, and we really do need to, and not only green asset, it's a good leisure asset as well. I know we've got the second highest tide fall in the world here, and you know, but that thing with the barrier should give us some real leisure, space for leisure and things like that. And we really do need to get on with it and get it done. But we can't do it without talking to people, and we can't use it without the owner of the port being on board as well. So I will chat to the service managers and things like that and see what we can do with that respect. But there is a port liaison group, which Councillor Redmond's on, and we will be meeting, oh, it's not here, we'll be meeting again shortly to organise that. But long may that port remain part of it. And as I said, Councillor Redmond is on your town council and is part of that scheme as well. So I'm happy with that, very happy with that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Any other questions? Right. Moving on, the customers and digital delivery. Councillor Lance-Doddridge. Councillor Pearce, please.
Sorry,
Yes.
thank you. Just one question to do with the reception of Bridgewater House. Do you have any numbers on footfall since the refurbishment, please?
That I had since reopening in October, we'd had, I think, 850 is the last figure I've seen, which is not a huge amount, but probably has a tribute the way people have gone down the digital route during lockdown and during the period that reception was shut. And I don't know if I put it in my report, but we're up on 90% of issues being resolved at first point of contact, which is way up as well. So, yeah.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Lee Redmond.
Forgive me, it may be a slight leap of faith, but it's in relation to IT. I've noticed that our website, Sedgemoor District Council website, seems to be not, the search facility doesn't seem to be working. I noticed it a few weeks ago and made reference and made the IT team aware, but I checked again even 10 minutes ago and it's still not working. Do you have any idea when it might be repaired, please?
I would say as soon as possible. We are aware there is problems with the search facility. That's one of the things that's come out as we worked on the website. I say we, IT worked on the website and made improvements to it. But what I can do, I can get a estimated date and let you have it maybe tomorrow, Councillor Redmond, if that's okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you, Councillor Doddridge. Thank you very much. Housing, Councillor Andrew Gilling. No questions? Well, there is one actually. Yes. Councillor Cathy Pierce, yes.
Thank you. It's to do with homelessness, and I'm just thinking as Christmas is approaching, it's usually inevitable that somebody becomes known to us who is homeless, or often on a Friday evening when it's hard to find the after support. It's really a question to ask, could you put out a notice to all councillors reminding us all of the best courses of action to take if somebody becomes known to us during the holiday time in particular, please?
Something to that effect in my report with regard to the hidden homelessness that we've got in rural areas. I'm not just thinking urban. There are lots of people that stash themselves away in farm sheds and wherever. If anybody from the council becomes aware of that, please contact the team at Sedgemoor, they have an excellent outreach team who do a regular search around the urban areas. I think the rural areas probably get neglected to a lesser extent, but nevertheless, it is in hand and our numbers are particularly encouraging. More than that, I'm not able to say at the moment, but if you want some statistics, I have them.
Thank you, Councillor Gilling. Any more questions? Moving on then to commercial and asset management. Councillor Mark Healy. I think there's one coming. Councillor Evans.
Oh, he looked disappointed that there wasn't one coming, so I thought, I've got to ask him one. I read your comments about Northgate Yard and the letting of the 5 food and drink outlets with interest. I see lots of fine words about encouraging and hope and positive interest and so on. I appreciate the aspiration. Are these realistic and hard offers coming in? I'm very mindful of the marginal financial case on those units. Thank you.
Thank you for the question, Councillor Evans, because I was going to get a little bit, about not being asked a question, because I normally do. But anyway, to answer your question, they aren't just fine words at all, to be fair. As you'll, appreciate, we are talking to various organisations, which clearly I would be foolish to mention at the moment, because that's not right or proper. What I could assure you of is, though, it's looking exciting. The future's looking good. I think you'll be delighted, possibly in the future, when things are happening. But as you can appreciate, even though you're talking to various concerns out there, a lot of work's got to be done. Non-disclosure agreements have to be signed, etc. So, as much as I'd love to tell you more, Councillor Evans, you'll appreciate at this moment in time, it would be foolhardy of me and very sort of naive to mention names, if you can accept that at the moment. But thank you for the question.
Thank you, Councillor Healy. No more questions? Right, moving on then. Communities and Wellbeing, Councillor Janet Keane. I've got 2 questions. Councillor Pierce first, then, if you could, please.
The question is on paragraph 2, Children and Young People's Mental Health Service. I just wondered if you knew the current waiting time for young people to be seen by CAMHS.
I didn't hear all of that. The sound reception is very fuzzy.
Sorry, it's a question on paragraph 2 to do with children and young people's mental health services. And the question is, do you have any idea of the length of time for referrals for young people to be seen by CAMHS?
For children, only last month a new contract, the County Council issued a contract with being a Tier 1 authority to Barnardo's for counselling of children. And the most concerning things which came up at the last Health and Wellbeing Board, I couldn't attend because it was in person because of an illness, but I was there virtually. And as a result of some of the contacts and some of the comments made, which is why I've asked for this to be circulated to every member. It deals with with children. there was a time when children were seen and not heard, but we've gone past that now. And it's within here, the research has shown up some very sad and unacceptable treatment or not listening to, and the comments made by adult counsellors to children, which are unacceptable and very sad. And I'm quite sure that every member here from time to time will have received a distress call from someone at their wit's end. And I would hope that these comments will provide you with at least a signpost to pass on. Thank you.
Councillor Pearce again.
It was just to know if some idea of the length of time for referrals or for young people to see CAMHS. And a written response will be fine. It would just be really useful to know what the current situation is, because I know historically it's difficult. It's been difficult for young people to get referrals.
I haven't got that answer for you now, but I will obtain a written answer and send it to you. And perhaps the content may be of interest to all members rather than simply to one.
Thank you, Councillor Keane. You happy with that, Councillor, for the written reply? Yes. Thank you, Councillor Keane, for that. Thank you very much. Thank you. Councillor Evans. Sorry, Councillor.
It's in relation to the same paragraph, actually, with the children and young people's mental health and emotional well-being. It's just some clarification, really. I think the report is really interesting and it highlights a number of issues that we're doing. Can we have some confirmation that how the district council and officers of the council are being made aware of the strategy and use that as part of their day-to-day business? Is it being rolled out across the whole for all officers? Is there a briefing session so that this so that access for young people is, I suppose, streamlined and made as easy as possible?
From talking to the Health Watch people who actually did the research here and were the authors of this, I think this is still very much of a work in progress, because actions need to be put in place. And we have the
Would you?
The recommendations are going to be made to the multi-agency risk assessment conferences. But beyond that, I have no further information. This was only given to me about 2 weeks ago, and it's only been today that I've been able to obtain enough copies for perusal.
Thank you, Councillor. I think Councillor Slocum would want to come in whether we're on this.
I just wanted to, if I could just add to Councillor Keane what mine, I'm hopefully not. Obviously, in relation to the CAMHS, knowing a little bit about this recently, excuse me, I do know the length of time is quite a length of time. It is quite substantially length of time, and I think it has to be improved, and you're absolutely right. I think it's been a very big worry all through the wards with people that are coming to us and saying. The other thing is our team at Sedgemoor work in very, very close collaboration with all the teams at the county, and they do a tremendous job safeguarding and everything else. So I do think we work very, very well together, and I was amazed how collaborative we work together. I didn't have no idea at all, and I know that's what Councillor Keane was trying to say. So, but I know she'll give you a proper written answer. But I do know you're absolutely right about CAMHS. It's far too long. Thank you.
Thank you, councillors. That concludes the executive reports. Item number 8, the committee chairman reports. Sorry, I didn't see. Sorry. I got the wrong glasses today. I got to be honest, right?
Thank you. First of all, I brave your indulgence here. Councillor Pearce. That was an excellent question about homelessness. It is something it's dear to my heart. I don't like, it really does touch me, homeless people. And my second thing is for Councillor Keane, is the fact that living in a rural area, we do get, and it's a rural area that's much famed for its beauty and things like that. We get a lot of holiday makers. And a lot of holiday makers are now going on to electric vehicles, etc. And there's no charging points. And there's quite a few little car parks which are used. Will there be any grants available or anything like that to put electric charging points in in rural places, because it is vital that we get them there as soon as possible. Thank you.
Councillor Gilling.
In answer to Councillor Caswell's question, yes, there will be grant-aided charging points placed, lots of them in caravan sites, so that will include, and there is grant aid for that. But there are also sites within the district, especially around the Highbridge and Edith Mead localities, where charging points are being installed by private installations. But can I also, before I can complete my comments, again come back to Councillor Pearce, the term team is a bit nebulous. I should have been more specific. But it's a lady called Kate Reed, who is the Sedgemoor's rough sleeping and homelessness case manager from the housing advice team. And her telephone direct line is 012. Is this permissible, madam? No. Just
no, you're right.
Go through the
no more questions. No
go
more
through
questions.
the switchboard.
Thank you. There's no more questions. You're too late on that one.
Come back on something there.
But very quickly, then,
it's very good.
Quickly.
It is
I'll make
very
it section
good to have
just very quickly.
It's very good to have charging points at Edith Mead and Highbridge and in Bridgewater and anything there, but it's not a lot of good when you're stuck in the middle of the Quantock Hills with no power.
Right. Thank you for Mike. Thank you. Okay. Right. Thank you, Executive Reporters. Thank you. Now, any questions now for the Development Committee? Councillor Bob Filmer. I think Councillor Filmer, along with everybody else involved with development. Yeah, Councillor Slocum will say a few words on this. Because Sedgemoor won an award that you all know.
Yeah, I'm going
to bring Councillor Filmer in on this one now. I think it's the time to do it now.
Right, Mr. Chairman, can I just say, as the portfolio holder, working very closely with Councillor Filmer, we just wanted to say how extremely pleased we are that our planning committee have won this Southwest branch of the Royal Town and Planning Institute Planning Team of the Year award. This is a tremendous award, and it's a great accolade to our Sedgemoor District Council here and our planning team. So I'd like to hand over back to Councillor Filmer, if I may.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, with your indulgence, Mr. Chairman.
Take it, Councillor Slocum, no problem. Councillor Filmer.
Chairman, all I'm going to say is very much happy to agree with the Deputy Leader. It was a real boost to the team that they obviously were found to be the joint best planning team in the Southwest. It's just worth pointing out it wasn't just with local authority planning teams, that was commercial planning teams as well. So it is a real accolade for the team. They've put in an awful lot of hard work over the last few months, and as was mentioned, it's been a very difficult time for all officers and members over the last 18 months. And to keep the planning service running at a really good level has been a real effort for everybody, right the way from the registration team through to the decision makers as well at the top of the planning offices. So it was a real fillip, I think, to the whole team, and hopefully it's a good accolade for Sedgemoor going forward into the new unitary authority as well. So congratulations to everyone involved with this.
Thank you very much, Councillor Tuyer. God willing, and the award will be here at the next council meeting, which will be on the 22nd of December. Okay, thank you. Thank you for that. Any questions, Councillor Filmer? See not. Right, moving on. Licensed and general purposes, Councillor Barry Crowe. Councillor Kingham. Councillor Kingham, any questions? Councillor Kingham? No. All happy. The Corporate Scrutiny Committee, Councillor Brian Smedley. No, got a vote, Brian, right. The Community Scrutiny Committee, Councillor Hilary Bruce. Councillor Human.
Yes. I wanted to refer to Section 3, the Balloon and Sky Lanterns release policy. From the summary given there, I'm assuming the only policy we have regarding this item is that they can't be released from council property. There's no other licensing requirements at all. And secondly, that the only real recommendations to the executive were to make people more aware of the problems with them, and encourage town and parish councils to adopt the policy, which I assume, again, because it's not quite clear there, that policy is that they wouldn't allow release from their properties, which are quite limited. If that being the case, could we ask scrutiny maybe to delve back into that policy? And, you know, the council can formulate its own policies. Perhaps we should be thinking of linking a policy regarding these items to the issue of licenses for events and functions, so that the large functions, weddings and other events are prevented from using these things. At least it would be a start. I understand we can't legally stop people using them privately, but we could at least have it as part of our licensing agreements when we're issuing licenses for events.
Thank you, Councillor Hume. Thank you. Councillor Bruce, do you wish to come back on that?
Thank you. Thanks for the question. I believe it was a position that actually we couldn't do anything on licensing on this. It's not actually within the council's remit to be able to do that because of the legal situation. There is no national legislation at the moment to prevent the release of these. And that is actually one of the recommendations, was for the Leader of Council to write a letter to the government lobbying that there is national legislation put in place. When people do apply for licenses, the idea would be for the policy to be put out as an information vehicle to inform the public, to inform people who hold events and the venues of the damages that these balloons and sky lanterns can cause. So I think at the moment, the council's position is that we have a responsibility to inform. We can only actually control what happens on the council's land. We can't control what happens on private land at the moment because there's no national legislation. But that is something that I hope in the near future that the government will actually take action on, and that the council, Leader of Council, will agree when we put it to the executive to write that letter. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you, Councillor Bruce. I've got a further question from Councillor Healy. We can't hear, to be honest. Yep. Okay. Councillor Healy and Councillor Slocum as well.
Yes, moving on from that, and thank you for your information, Councillor. But I think in the first instance, and I gather where Councillor Hume is coming from, and I think it's a really good question, by the way, I think you ought to refer to the fire service, of course. As you know, I've got quite a bit to do with the fire service, and they don't like these things at all. Because what's happened nationally so far, and Councillor Redmond clearly knows, as an ex-retained firefighter, of course, as well, they cause a huge amount of damage. You know, not so long ago, and again, look at Councillor Redmond, these things entered into waste facilities, set them alight on for days. It causes a huge amount of environmental damage, doesn't it? So in the first instance, through you, Deputy Chairman, you know, the letter's a really good idea. I think it should be legislated because these things are a nuisance. Clearly they're a nuisance. But if I may, through you as the Chairman, contact the fire service. They're very proactive about it. They've got lots of things they can offer local people, and maybe that's a temporary way through it at the moment. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Healy. And Councillor sorry, Councillor Bruce, sorry. This microphone job is no good at all.
Thank you. Yeah, one of the actions that Dave Coles actually took away from the Scrutiny Committee meeting was to go forward and actually liaise with all of the parties that are involved and in any way with the damages that these items cause. So liaising with town and parish councils, getting the policy out there, promoting the adoption of similar policies by the town and parish councils, but also working with other bodies such as the fire service. So there's something that general information, raising awareness with everybody that can be involved with this is definitely something that was taken forward. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bruce. Councillor Slocum, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I just first of all wanted to thank Councillor Bruce for the tremendous work she's doing on the community scrutiny. You really dived into some difficult areas, and as I know, that's somebody that's been in Carnival with fireworks. It's always a very difficult one, but I do accept what you were saying and the way you put it over. The one thing I wanted to mention on 3.4 was that you run an ongoing campaign on social media and create posters. You're not saying, when you say create posters, are you saying media posters? You're not saying physical posters?
One of the ideas was actually to be able to create something that could be shared electronically that town and parish councils could then choose to print out and put on their notice boards. It would be very useful to put information about this in places, in prominent places where they are likely to be released. And that's something that town and parish councils could assist with. And that was something, just an idea really to put forward. So creating something graphically that could be shared electronically to then be printed out. But yeah.
Just a concern about the environment. Everyone gets a bit annoyed about posters being come off notice boards or all on the floor and everything else. So just wanted to make sure that we're on the same track, that we don't just, we make sure they're in secure places, as your report does say.
Absolutely. The only thing I'd say in addition to that is that we need to make sure that this information is accessible to everyone. So although I completely agree with your point, sharing things electronically is much better for the planet. We have to remember that there are a lot of people who aren't connected. And so if we can get that information out to places where it's going to be read by people that might not know about this and about the dangers that these cause, then, you know, I think it's probably better to get a good balance.
Thank you.
Thank you for your comments as well.
Thank
you.
Thank you for that, Councillor Bruce. Right, that is all that. Move on to item number 9. Questions with notice, there's none. Questions without notice. Have you any questions without notice? I see Councillor Evans. Thank you very much, Councillor Evans.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This question's for the portfolio holder for communities and wellbeing. I noted that I had a conversation with somebody who works in the area of young men's mental health, and she told me about a 40% increase in suicides in young men, and that the service demand on their area of work had doubled since the start of the pandemic. And she was asking me what Sedgemoor District Council was doing about this. I looked at the Sedgemoor Health and Wellbeing strategy and felt that it could be improved. And then I noticed that it covers the period 2016 to 2020. So I was wondering if the portfolio holder could tell us what plans do we have to review the strategy and renew the strategy, and does she think it's sufficient to deal with the problems we have with young men's mental health, please? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Evans. Councillor Clean, you're going to answer that or do a written reply? Which do you want to do?
I'm unable to give you any answers because I've never attended either the homicide or the suicide review panels. We do have a safeguarding officer who does on a regular basis, but I will ask for a written reply to be sent to you. And if it is the chairman's wish, perhaps circulated perhaps in confidential cover to all members.
I think Councillor Slocum may be able to handle this one a bit better. Yeah.
I think Councillors, the sound is very difficult. And I wondered whether Councillor Keane, the policy, I was the previous portfolio holder and I did the policy and it went to 20. What it does is it does extend itself a little bit, the life, although it says to 20, it does extend itself. But you're absolutely right. The men's mental health is not, I think mental health is part of it, but I think Councillor Keane would have naturally in the normal process would be now starting to do a new policy. That's what we always do, a new policy upgrade. Of course, with everything else that's happened, it's been very difficult, but I'm sure Councillor Keane will be on that very shortly. Even it might be that we have to wait for the new authority to do that, because it might be an encompassment of the new authority.
Thank Slocum for her answer to my question. I think it is important that we review the strategy.
Absolutely.
And renew it. And although I take on board the comments that it's been a difficult period of time for the team involved, the situation with young men's mental health is particularly ongoing, and it is as a direct consequence of some of the events that have been happening. And I think it is really important that that moves up the agenda of this council and Somerset County Council and their successors in law. Thank you.
Thank you. If I may, Mr. Chairman, the policy for the communities and wellbeing is a live document, so it can be added to. So I'm sure that, but I'm sure Councillor Keane, whether she's been able to hear this, it's very difficult over this side, sorry, but obviously that will be dealt with. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the Councillor and Councillor Keane wants to come back, but the sound is very difficult here today. I have to be honest, these microphones aren't very effective. Have a go, Councillor Keane.
In response to your last remark, Mr. Evans, I think you're quite right. Mental health or a health aspect is at the root of many of the other difficulties in society. And I have tried to pull together some multidisciplinary teams to look at, for instance, when you see young, or not necessarily young people, more mature people congregating with antisocial behavior, very often the penal answer is not the answer. There's no solution. There has to be a health look, and at the moment we are trying with our safeguarding people to put together more research into this to see how we can, at this level, while before it escalates to people getting into more serious trouble, because the answer is to break a cycle, and it's within one person itself. I am not an expert. I'm merely someone who joins the dots together to try and get the right people to talk to each other in a meaningful manner. I hope you understand that. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that, Councillor Keane. But the sound has been very difficult here this afternoon, it really has, to hear from here about the way we can't pick it up. Anyhow, that concludes most of the business this afternoon. So I'm going to thank you all for attending. I'd like to close the meeting, but I've got a few things to say when I close the meeting, if I could please, right? I've got to remind members there's a special full council meeting here on the 22nd of December at 2:30. And obviously you'll be invited to mince pies and drinks afterwards, as you are today. So if anybody welcome me, there's hot drinks and mince pies at the back there. And I'm going to remind councillors, if I could, I'm on the scrounge really. I've supported my charity. This is Rocky Road to Recovery, which is stationed at Collie Lane. And by God, what a good charity it is. I'm going to let you on to a few things actually. I went to Bath 3 months ago, and Rocky Road to Recovery had an award. That shows you how important it is. Only 3 people have an award, and Rocky Road was one of them. I also went to the Somerset County Awards at Taunton a fortnight ago, and they received another award. So really, it would make me feel good if you was to support my raffle. Quite good. There's a bear. He's not in the best of shape, but it's a bear, right? And there's other things as well. So a lady will be on hand to take any money, I suspect, if you've got or anybody else want to support it. But this is a really good place, and it would open people's eyes to go and have a look at it, to be honest. That's all I'm going to say. And we haven't heard the last of the place yet. So look, thank you very much, councillors, for attending, and all stay healthy, because there's a few, our council leader's wife is not well at the moment. She's in hospital. Jill's suffering for her throat. I'm suffering from my throat, and a few others are as well. You know, but this is going around. It ain't going to go away very quickly. Okay, so all stay safe. Thank you all very much. Bye-bye to you all.